Hello everyone, welcome back, and let's get straight into it. Before we start, friends, we are just going to have a very short visualization so that we can be in the right mind, right frame of mind. So let's just close your eyes for a minute. Let us link up as a group by sending a ray of radiant light of love to the ajna of our group members. And there are 20 of us. Now raise your consciousness as high as you possibly can. Now endeavor to hold steady, holding the mind in the group light. Realize that DK is also standing steady, pouring out upon us his love and strength, and endeavors to lift us up into a much higher state of consciousness. And visualize ahead of us a disk or a sphere of indigo blue, of a deep indigo blue. Imagine DK standing in the center of that disk, waiting. And now see a band of golden light between us and the disk, gradually shortening, bringing us closer and closer, slowly and steadily, until we enter into the heart of the blue disk. And now let us sound a blue Om. Now, last session, we were talking about Aquarian energy and its qualities involving groups, involving service, and the universal distribution of love and life, a synthesis of love and life. So let's explore that idea, the idea of the group and how important it is. Hierarchy had a vision behind an experiment which they carried on in the new group, in the new seed groups within the new group of world servers. They realized that time had come where there were enough people, having established enough soul contact, that together and as a group, they could become sensitive to the new ideas which should condition the new age which is upon us. So it was realizing that need of a bridging group that would be neither entirely negative or receptive, nor entirely positive, which prompted some of the masters to form the new group of world servers. So in 1931, hierarchy sanctioned the starting of these groups. And these groups were meant to be an experiment in founding or starting focal points of energy within the human family, so that certain energies can flow through into the entire race of men. 2, in inaugurating hierarchical methods and techniques in work and modes of communication. 3, they were meant to be a bridging group between mankind and hierarchy. And fourthly, they were meant to hold within themselves the seeds of the coming civilization and the germ of the new culture. And that germ of the life of the new age is there, within the husk of the old age and the old forms, as DK expresses it. So what is the purpose of these 10 seed groups that hierarchy sanction? It is really to inaugurate the kingdom of souls on earth. So if successful, what are they to achieve? 3 things. And I want you to pay attention to these 3 things because they are very important. 1, these groups are to anchor on earth certain types of the higher forces which humanity needs, but are not yet active. 2, develop the 6 supernormal powers, and we'll see this in a minute. And 3, train the group members in that synthetic relation which characterizes hierarchy, and so prepares them for initiation. So anchor on earth certain energies, develop and train group members. So we will see how important these 3 points are as we go down the slides. So what are these 6 supernormal powers? Well, I've put them in a very simple way, and they are the anagram of simple. S for sensitivity. What does that really mean? It is just the expansion of one's consciousness so that one can become aware of ever widening ranges of contacts. In other words, alertness to the super kingdoms, to soul contact, spiritual sensitivity must be cultivated. So not only with the soul, but with the higher powers. 2, I for impersonality, attitude of non-interference and the refusal to criticize. No reprimand or no imposition of will or one's point of view through legitimate, although it is legitimate to express ideas and make suggestions. But this is a spiritual law, that there is no imposition of will on anyone and coercing them into doing anything. That's respecting their free will. M for mental polarization. The inner life is to be lived increasingly upon the mental plane. DK tells us that disciples must be mentally polarized, which is the attitude of meditation to be held all day long, not just for an hour or half an hour every morning if you do your meditation every morning, but it means thinking and acting on the physical plane as if you were the soul. P for psychic powers. Now, if you remember in the early sessions, we talked about the use of the word psychic or psychological. DK uses it using the origin of the word psyche from soul. So therefore here, psychic powers doesn't refer to the lower psychic powers, which is really the abilities stemming from the solar plexus. But here they are capacities inherent in the soul, psyche from the soul, which must be developed in all of us if we are to do our share in meeting world need and work for hierarchy in the field of service. And L and E stand for love and encouragement or assist others or that desire to serve. And these are the fundamental and basic essentials. So easy, simple. So what are these 10 groups? Look, folks, I won't be going through all the 10 groups. You can do that in your own time. So, because time is limited. So I will concentrate only on the third seed group of magnetic healers. And DK describes us as they work intelligently with a vital force of the etheric body. The work to be done is that of intelligent transmission of energy to various parts of the nature, mental, astral, and physical. What is the task of the third group of magnetic healers? One is the bringing through of healing divine energy, that is the energy of life, emanating from the soul via the mind. The exclusion of the emotional plane and therefore illusion. And 3, the utilization of the healing energy in full waking consciousness upon the physical plane. And how are these magnetic healers to work? They are to work intelligently with the etheric forces. They are to bring about the right healing of the personalities of individuals in all aspects of their nature. Physical, which is etheric, astral, and mental. The work to be done is intelligent transmission of energy, meaning love from the soul, through the right organization and circulation of force that is from the etheric centers. Magnetic healers must learn to work as souls, not as individuals. And this is a very, very important point. We must think of ourselves as souls, not as personalities. And lastly, we must learn to communicate that healing energy from the reservoir of living force to our patient or patients. Present-day healers should recognize that stupendous fact that healing must eventually be carried forward by groups who will act as intermediaries between the plane of spiritual energy, and notice how DK now itemizes them, either soul energy, intuitional energy, which means the Buddhic plane, or the will energy from Atmic plane. But will energy does not figure in our work because we're only beginners. So we do not use the will. We use only love from soul energy, and as a group, Buddhic energy. Will energy is only used by much higher 4th and 5th initiates, degree initiates. So DK tells us, note this last point, that we are intermediaries. We are a bridging group between the soul energy or the Buddhic plane and the group of patients. So this group idea must always be remembered by us as we work. We must not work as individuals, but as units in a coherent whole. And this will distinguish the New Age methods from the past, for the work will be group work and usually for a group. The esoteric healers are those whose soul contact is established and who work through the souls of people, enabling them, therefore, to stand in spiritual being. In other words, helping our patients to act as souls, strengthening the soul within them. This is our work. To work free from illusion, to achieve true perspective upon the physical plane, to coordinate the personality and the soul so that the will of the inner spiritual man can work out upon the physical plane. And it is eventually intended that the group, the third group of magnetic healers, work definitely as outposts of the consciousness of the hierarchy of masters. See how important this sentence is. The third group to work definitely as outposts of the consciousness of hierarchy. And how difficult is going to be this task? Well, our group is, or the work of our group is perhaps one of the hardest to carry through, although from another angle, it is easier than the task of the other groups. It is harder because the consciousness of the bulk of humanity is to be found predominantly on that astral plane. And therefore, as the old commentary says, they, magnetic healers, they who bring in the light and yet are surrounded by the maya of the senses, work from the point of present being and need not move out or in or up or down. They simply stand. And the image of a lighthouse is a really, really good image to describe the work of the magnetic healers. They stand strong as a group. They stand steady, pouring out hierarchical and soul light amidst the turmoil of the astral currents around them. So this is why it's important to think of ourselves as a group, because there is no way that we will be able to stand steady, surrounded by the astral currents around us on our own. So what chakras then are to be used? So our group, the magnetic healers, use the head center, the crown chakra, because the crown chakra is the seat of the soul. It is the point of entrance of soul energy into the mechanism. The heart center, obviously, because the heart center registers the energy of love. And this is the energy that we will be distributing, the energy of life and the energy of love. The energy of life is seated in the heart. And the Ajna center, because the Ajna center is the distributing Ajna. And that's what we do. We distribute the energy. Now, DK realizes that it's not always possible or always necessary to meet and work together in group formation. What he means by that is, don't forget that he was writing in the 1930s. There were no facilities like we have today in webinars, internet, etc. So people had to meet in person, right? So that's why he recognizes that in our modern world, it's not always possible to meet in person. But the healing work can still be carried forward efficiently and potently if we work as a subjective group. By that he means that we stand alone at home, following the instructions each day or whenever we sit for meditation, and we work as if we were working in this group, as if we were together with our group in person. So this real linking is brought about by imagining ourselves in the presence of our brothers. So from a physical point of view, yes, we work alone. But from a subjective point of view, we work in the closest cooperation, remembering that all souls are one. We are one soul. We really need to get our head around this. So how does it work? Is that the group energy of the souls augments that of the healer who works on the physical plane on his own, and who is then the physical outlet for the group energy. And the energy then is directed by the healer working on his own and is directing the group soul energy to the patients. So let's explore key ideas of working as a group as DK wants us to work. The first objective, he says to us, is to weld and unify the group so that each person in it can work in close mental rapport and spiritual cooperation with the others. But this takes time. And the success of that effort, of that new effort on the part of hierarchy, in other words, to what's the word I'm looking for? To transmit their energy through the group, will depend on a non-critical attitude and the outpouring of a spirit of love on the part of each member of the group. Now, this is a very interesting passage. What attracts DK's attention is this. When he looks at his group of disciples, always subjectively and always as a group, it's the total radiance that he sees. It's the united rhythm that he notes, and the united tone and color of the aura of the group. And it is the sound that we emit which he hears. He doesn't mean the sound of the Om or the sound of our voice. He means subjective sound, right? The note of love that we emit. And he tells us right from the word go, and that's on page 6 in his book, Esoteric Healing. I'm not interested in training individuals to make them more efficient healers. He's not interested. That was done in the past, in the Piscean age. Now we are in the new age, in the new Aquarian age, where it's group healing at which he's aiming. And it's the work which is done in formation which interests DK. And he tells us that no group of people can work as a unit unless they love and serve each other. A bit like the image on our screen here, that each leaf is part of the tree. It's an integral part of the tree. Each branch, each leaf Each vein does its own little part to achieve what the tree is meant to achieve. So the healing energy of the spiritual hierarchy cannot flow through the group if there is disharmony and criticism. So as a group, we need to emit that group love, that group harmony as one. So the first work, therefore, of any group of healers is to establish themselves in love and to work towards group unity and understanding. No group can be used in world service that's not working in perfect accord, and this harmony must be attained as a group. It must be brought about not through the process where we withdraw within ourselves or inhibit what we think, and that would upset group equilibrium. No, it's the process of the loving self-forgetfulness. You have within yourself, DK tells us, a good deal of steady staying power, and you also have a definite capacity to radiate. Because if you have been called, if you're responding to that call of DK to esoteric healing or to work in a group like ours, where we distribute love selflessly, then you must have established a degree of soul contact. And therefore you are radiating to a certain extent or to a certain degree soul energy. So you have a definite capacity to radiate love. So use these powers as contribution to your group life. And by means of your loving radiation, strengthen the group structure and stimulate the group love. Why is DK putting so much emphasis on the group? Well, one, we saw in our last sessions that we are entering the age of Aquarius, where the concept of the individual merging with his group is primordial. Group spirit, group objective, group service, group sacrifice being the basic mode. Plus, we are much, much stronger as a group than we are individually. There has been a change in hierarchical training methods, where in the Piscean age, they were working with individuals here and there. But it became obvious to hierarchy that with the Aquarian age, group preparation, group initiation, group acceptance must and will supersede the older methods of working individually with the disciples. So the entire technique of training disciples for initiation and absorbing them into the ashrams of hierarchy had to be altered. Plus, esoteric healing is concerned with the linking of group conscious souls, because from its very nature, the soul is conscious and aware in three directions: is God conscious, is group conscious, and self-conscious. So the nature of the soul itself is group conscious. So if we are going to be working as a soul, then we are, from the very essence of our being, group conscious. We just need to change our thinking and become group conscious as a second nature, I mean. And thirdly, hierarchy is forced to work with groups because it's rare that one individual has all three head centers simultaneously active. The great ones, hierarchy, have to work with large groups before the quota of energy supplied to them from these three head centers, Alta Major, Ajna, and Crown Chakra. The measure of that energy is given to hierarchy so that hierarchy can blend with it and distribute, or rather blend their energy with whatever is produced by the meeting or the blending of these three chakras. Because now, why are these three head centers so important? Crown, Ajna, and Alta Major. Because it's the linking of the three etheric head centers that are needed to bring down soul energy. That's why DK encourages us to practice Rule 2 diligently. And this is what we do at every healing session. We practice this linking of these three head centers. And it is with these triangles that the trained healer eventually works, and he will consciously employ. But the time for this when this will be actually possible lies very far ahead. Why? Because we have not developed, every individual has not developed the head chakra, the Ajna, and the Alta Major to the point where the three head centers are working as one. That's why DK recommends that we work as a group. So for the moment, we've got to work through visualization and the power of our creative imagination until maybe in next lives, we will be able to work to a much higher degree. The healing work will be in three sequential stages, he tells us. Three sequentials, rather three sequences, three stages, not simultaneously. So the first one is the training, notice the word, the training in the principles of the healing art. As we lay the foundation so that that foundation can be expanded later on in the new age, when you and I will be coming back in our future lives to work and expand that work. But at the moment, we are laying that foundation. We need to lay a very strong and steady foundation so that that work can be successful in the future. We need to preserve that which is good and useful. Why that? What this means, what DK means by that is we, in the healing of homeopathy, chiropody, podiatry, all these branches of healing, we need to preserve that which is good, that which is useful. But we need to shift the emphasis from the dense physical to the more subtle and etheric. And thirdly, we need to study the book Esoteric Healing which will meet with a measure of response later on. But it will enter its true nature, mission, and usefulness in the future. So at the moment, we study, we train, and we develop. The second is later, when a group can function with impersonality as a unit and with true interplay of love. Such a group can then begin to do some definite work under soul direction or some initiated chela. By initiated chela, he means a third degree initiate or fourth, and in conformity with the teaching in this treatise, meaning in his book, Esoteric Healing. And finally, there will come the forming of subsidiary groups to be taught and developed by members of the pioneering healing group under soul instruction again, or under that of some initiated chela. These groups will work under group direction for the healing of people. This will not be for some years yet, but not until the initiating group or groups can work with a measure of success and the group members have an intelligent grasp of the healing and of the healing techniques and the principles. So this is why I was saying to you that we are being trained at the moment. We are being developed. DK puts a lot of emphasis on intellectual development. So until there is full knowledge, it is vitally necessary that the structure of power and vitality and the network of the energies and the forces which compose the human organism should be studied. And that a mental grasp of the processes of healing is needed. By energies and forces, he means soul energy and forces being that of the chakras or the etheric body, or even astral and mental energies, or rather forces, beg your pardon. So understanding of the chakras must come first. So therefore we need to understand what chakra transmits what kind of energy, to understand the interaction of the various chakras, their functions, their purpose. And later on, their awakening will come. But understanding must come first. Doctors work with the dense physical body, but the healers will work with the etheric body. Because as an occultist, we will regard the body not as a principle. The dense physical body is not a principle. So we will work entirely with the etheric body and its energies or forces. Therefore, leaving these forces or these energies then of the soul that we would have, I wouldn't say downloaded, but stepped down onto the physical plane, then to let them have their effect or their impact then onto the physical body. So in all the teaching to be given in the immediate future, the main emphasis will be laid upon the technique of the etheric body. That is the next step forward. So this is exactly what we will be doing in the future. Next year, we will be learning all about the etheric body. So in the future, trained healers will work collaboratively with medicos. So when trained healers with perception, in other words, spiritual perception, right? With a full working knowledge of the etheric body, with an understanding of the energies which compose it, what it does, what it can transmit, of the subtle constitution of men, of the methods of directing energies from one point and location to another, then when these trained healers can work with medicos in full collaboration with them, then tremendous changes will be brought about and great enlightenment will reach the race of men. And it's for this that we must prepare, not primarily for the healing of the physical body, but because of the expansion of consciousness of the race that this new and esoteric study will bring about. The synthetic power of the mind, aided by true love, will someday be the instrument of all true healers. But in the meantime, for the sake of the future and in order to aid the formulation of the coming healing art based on the understanding of energy, its inflow and circulation, then this treatise, meaning his book, will deal somewhat with the academic side. Now this passage deals with the 15 rules of magic. But what DK says can also be applied to the healing art, because the healing art is a creative work of the white magician. So what are these rules that he tells us? What use are they? Nothing yet, as he says, as far as practical work is concerned, but much where inner intellectual development is desired. So he who meditates and broods over these rules and laws that we will be learning in the future, you will arrive at an understanding of the laws of construction in the macrocosm, which will save much time when the magical work and formulas are going to be put in our hands. So there's much to be looking for, friends, because at the moment we are being trained. We are developing our power to radiate, our power to think of ourselves as souls, as a group of souls, working as a unit harmoniously. So the healing art is not a vague mystical process or wishful thinking or simple good intentions. But the healing art is the mastering of the science of soul contact, first of all, the practice of alignment, and the understanding of the science of the centers of the chakras. So until we develop synthetic mind, until we have that ability to grasp themes and subjects as a whole, then the principles, the healing principles, have to be learned painstakingly and technicalities mastered. Unfortunately, because that synthetic element is still lacking in us. And today there is no school of healing which should be retained, because all of them embody some useful truth, idea, or principle. So DK wants to point out that a synthetic group would still be a separative and a separated entity. And that's not what DK is aiming at. It's the synthesis of the life and the knowledge which is desirable, not necessarily the synthesis of people. Okay, let's repeat this sentence again. It's the synthesis of the life and the knowledge, the synthesis of the principle of healing. That's what's important. So hopefully there will be hundreds and thousands of groups like ours all over the world who will express this new attitude to healing, who will be bound together by their common knowledge and aims, who will all express this to the best of their ability in their own peculiar field, in their own peculiar way, and with their own peculiar terminology. So therefore, it's that subjective life unity which interests hierarchy, and therefore the production of a network of true healers all over the world. So all members are to gather as free souls, no authority within the group. The healing energy cannot flow in the presence of disharmony and criticism, because love and group unity are essential elements for groups of healers. And again, DK reiterates it's group healing that he is aiming. And no group of people can work as a unit unless they serve and they love and serve each other. The healer is more correctly sensitive to impression from hierarchy when working within the healing group. So therefore, we have to meditate and send healing as a group, thinking of ourselves in what's the word? Intrinsically as a group. So DK asks us for patience, because as the healing group integrates and the auras of the group members blend, and that takes time. It takes time to learn to work together in perfect understanding and in personality. And it's imperative for would-be healers to train themselves to think as a group and to give freely to the group the best that is in them.